Welcome to the Intentional Life podcast, where it's all about real strategies, real tools, and techniques to help you truly become the author of your life story.
Hello, everyone, and how are you doing? You guys, we are so excited because this week it's the topic that both Camilla and I have been talking about and thinking about and also experiencing quite a bit lately. And then we thought we have to do an episode about this. This is hot. And I know that we always say oh, Camilla and I were so excited, but this is really, and I think once you find a subject that you think about, then you suddenly start finding proofs and stories, and you meet people who are living that example. So this is definitely one of those cases, and we called the episode "But What Will People Think?"
I love it.
Right?
I mean, you just hear that title, and haven't we all been through this several times in the past month? Let's just say it's so real. It's so out of life, and basically, going through some kind of change or transition, or having a different opinion and saying it out loud, and then always this question lingering on your mind. But what will people think of me? What will they still like me if I do that, if I say that?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you know what? I think it's such a big part of our lives and our daily thought process. We often don't even know what we're doing it, but actually we're always checking in. We limit ourselves based on that. And actually, the recent example that I have from a personal life, which made me laugh and also angry and then laugh again, because it's a very exaggerated case of what will people think, is when, as you guys know, I was doing, the renovation, and then my mom came to visit to sort of help me out, to sort things out, after it was over. And basically we had to do a lot of cleaning, and I didn't want to hire anything because I wanted to all do myself, do it properly. And basically I live in an apartment, and so there's my apartment, and then we have sort of the communal staircase area, right? And when she came in, and I was like, okay, where do we start? Do we start with the bedroom? Do we go to the kitchen? And she was like, no, we're gonna start with the staircase. We need to clean the staircase. And I was like, how does that make sense? My apartment is a mess. There's dust. There's, after the renovation, it was just such a mess. And she was like, no. We have to clean the staircase. It's very important to me. I was like, but Mom, why? She was like, if we don't clean it, what will people think? And I was like, are you serious right now?
dirty woman living in that place.
Yes, I live in such a mess. And the first thing you think is what will people think because the corridor is a mess? I was like, they will think nothing. They think that we're renovating. We're going to clean it in the end. She was like, I cannot sit still. I cannot concentrate on anything else apart from cleaning the staircase right now. I was like, Mom, you're extra. I don't get it. I'm going to do it because I love you, but I don't agree with you. And I hope you know it. Right. So that's sort of when me and Camilla, we started sharing, and we're like, okay, so do we do it? I don't think we do it in such an extreme case, but I think we definitely to some extent have those situations daily, probably, when we're like, well, what will people think? I know for me, when I was changing the careers, and maybe, Camilla, you can tell some examples from your experience, even working with the clients, when people are, say, changing the careers, there's a big part in it when you almost have to change your identity and you lose everything that you knew about yourself, right? And I think for me personally, even though I think I'm so cool and I think I only care about me, but to be honest,
are so cool.
I only say that because we're friends, but to be honest, when I look back and I think of all the anxiety that I had, and the biggest fear for me was actually not whether I will do good in my new chosen career, but it was what will people think? Will they judge me? Will they be able to relate to me? Will they think I'm a loser for suddenly changing my mind about what I want to do? It was literally night and day, major anxiety caused because of that.
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking, I think that's something that we all experience. First of all, we all experience, even people like you and me who'd probably say, or let me speak for myself, I would say I'm not someone to compare myself too much to others, to, you know, check in too much to others about what I should do and stuff. Even though I don't think that of me, but I realize that I still do it so much. That's how conditioned we are to do that, right?
Yeah.
And also it's something that holds true for all stages of life. You know, when you're a teenager, it's about, if I don't wear this, or if I don't go to this club, what will people think of me, right? And then it's, if I don't go, let's say, to university, or if I don't travel, or if I don't have a boyfriend, what will people think of me? And then, you know, it's changing careers, or in my life, definitely, but especially even more so in many of my clients' lives who moved abroad and had to literally give up the life that they had, including their careers.
Yeah.
You know what? And it's kind of like they go to this new country, and it's like, well, who am I now? How do I introduce myself? And you know, you touched on identity. That is such a big issue. So I always say that our identity, first of all, it's self-constructed. We construct our identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with the area you live in, the people you surround yourself with, the university you go to, the thing you study, you know, things like that. And you just add those pieces and put them, let's say, on your identity wall, let's just call it.
Yeah.
And you have this whole wall around you, and you feel so secure and so safe because you know that, you know, you can just tell people, well, I'm a wife, I'm a lawyer, I'm you know, I live on Fifth Avenue, I don't know, like, and it will tell them so much about you, or so you think. But the problem is that when we construct this whole identity of things that are totally created, like, that's not who we are in our essence, right? It's just labels that we collect. And really, it can feel a lot like a cage that we're building around us. And it's
Yeah.
really hard to break out of it. And then when you do break out of it, or when you have to break out of it, or you're kicked out of it, let's say you're a lawyer, but you, for some reason, you cannot work as a lawyer anymore, be whatever, like, let's not even go into this. In the case of my clients, it's because they moved abroad, and then they can't work as a lawyer anymore in a different country, in a different language. And then all of a sudden it feels like their identity is shattered, and they can really enter into this crisis of saying, I don't even know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
This is how far it goes, and just thinking of, what will people think of me, right? If I'm not able to say that I'm a lawyer, for instance, to stick to this example. So yeah, I think identity plays such a huge role in this matter of worrying about how others will perceive you.
Yeah. No, that's a really good example. I think that's especially applicable, you know, with the people that you work with when they move abroad. So I work with people who change careers, and that's already a very big jump. But then when you move abroad, not only do you change a perception of who you are as a person, but then career is also part of it. So like, it's almost like it's magnified what you have to deal with. And so I wanted to steer this conversation to another direction, which is, so we worry about what will people think, and at the same time, that worry sometimes is justified, because and I did a post about it, and then you and I talked about it, because when we go through any sort of change, right, when we decide to grow, those around us, especially the ones who are closest to us, which is why it's so painful, those around us often find it really, really hard to accept what we're going through, or like support us. And then sometimes it even feels like they want to drag us down, right? When you hear it a lot, you know, when you're changing something, be like, well, you know, my friends are supportive, but see, my family members don't get it, right? I don't talk about it with my family members, they get upset. And then I can, you know, you and I, we experience it firsthand, how sometimes it's so hurtful when, you know, on paper, these are the people who should be your number one fan, and then they still struggle to support you.
Yeah. And we actually, I mean, this is a real life example because Wilma and I, we both have, let's just say, someone in our lives, or maybe even some people who we just notice are so unsupportive of our endeavors. And it's such a pity, you know, to not be able to count with the support of your loved ones, like you mentioned. And of course, that will lead you to worry even more about what others think, right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it can go into this vicious cycle of, you know, I'm getting a look, I'm getting a comment, I'm getting a weird question like, so why are you doing this? And I think especially, at least that's my impression, when it comes to personal growth, um, people, I don't know, it seems to scare some people off. So I think some people are kind of scared off because it's not so tangible, right? Like what do? You right, maybe you're a coach, or maybe you're a psychologist, or something else, something that has to do with personal growth. And others, again, have this opinion that, you know, we're totally woo woo, or we're, you know, we're just trying to fix ourselves, or something like that, you know. And really, I mean, as I always say, when it comes to personal growth, I feel like, how can you not support this? You know, growing personally and growing more self-aware, it should be considered like taking a shower, really, because, you know, otherwise, like, it's the best for you, it's the healthiest for you, and it's the best for all the people around you. So we don't want all those, you know, stinking people with unresolved issues and unconscious and unaware. That's just not good for humanity.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that's definitely, and I think the world is sort of moving towards that, where people are taking mental health much more seriously, where there are a lot of even famous people who are taking the platform and talking about their own mental health, which is basically giving permission for the rest of us to speak up about this, right? And also, you touch on a really important point, which is, why wouldn't you be supportive of someone who's going through, you know, growth or transformation or trying to better themselves? And I really want to talk about, you know, with our listeners about why that happens, because I believe that the reason why we sometimes feel like those around us can even be passive aggressive when it comes to our growth or change is because when you grow and change and you become lighter, like literally energetically, you light up. What it does, it sheds the light on everyone around you, especially the ones who are closest to you, right? So the light will be, you know, like you will be shining the light on them, and then they have two choices: either start looking at their own life and be like, okay, so, you know, where am I not living my full potential? Where am I not being authentic? You know, what can I do? Because, you know, that person, like, we are like not vibing anymore because that person is kind of growing and changing and evolving. Or what they can do to solve the situation is to drag the other person down to their own level so they wouldn't have to do the work. Because let me tell you, inner work is hard, right?
Yeah.
We're the first ones to admit you. That's probably the hardest thing that you can do. And it's always easier to stay in the comfort zone and be like, well, what can I do? How can I solve this? Drag the one down, make passive aggressive comments. And what's funny, a lot of the time, these people think that they are trying to be there for us and make sure that we are not making a bigger jump than we should, make sure that we're not making, you know, a wrong decision. They think they're watching our back, and they believe in that. Can you relate to that?
I love this metaphor, you know, with the light, how shine, like you kind of nurture your own light, because we all have that inside of us. And then we shine onto the others. And I was just thinking, isn't it funny? Could it be that either, people will kind of bathe in the light and be like, oh, I have light
Right.
too. Like, let's, just to stick to the metaphor. Or could it be that others will feel like it casts a shadow onto them because they're kind of maybe in a darker place, or they just cannot see that light, and are it I guess it makes people insecure a lot of times to
Yeah.
see others um, you know um, get on with life and get over challenges and still be optimistic or in a good mood, or at least working on it. And
Mhm.
and a very important point is not complaining. And it's so interesting because remember, Vilma, in our coaching academy, they told us in the beginning, you like, don't be surprised if you lose some friends over
Mm.
after this, because when you go through, be it personal growth or studies in that field, you rid yourself of almost all excuses. It's
Mhm.
about, not only do you learn tools to really be able to deal with challenges and difficulties so much better, of course you do, but also you learn that you have to take full responsibility of your life. And that can be really scary. Actually, it's the most empowering thing, because no
Mhm.
one else gets to decide what will be of my life, right?
Yes.
But I think to others who aren't in that place, it can be really scary. And interestingly, people bond a lot over complaining, over
Mhm.
criticizing others.
Yeah.
And when you stop doing that, it will, I guess to those people, it will feel like they will feel violated by you not joining in that conversation anymore.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and they might turn against you because of that. I mean, there are so many reasons why people could be unsupportive and leading you to have this feeling, they don't approve of me now. What will they think
Mhm.
of me? What are they
What will
thinking?
they think about me? Yeah. And another reason why I think people, especially the ones I'm talking, especially, because I think we don't really care about people who don't get us, that are not close to us. If acquaintance doesn't really get what you're doing, you don't think about it. But when
Yeah.
it's your family member or your partner or whoever is really close to you, when they're acting like that, it is really hurtful. It is really hurtful that you have to look for support, in a peer group or like-minded people, and you can't do it, can't bond over that with your loved one. But another reason, and I really want to, offer a lot of compassion to the people who are supporting or like not supporting the other who's going through a change, is because a lot of the times when they are almost like, when I say it's a tall poppy syndrome. Like if you're a tall poppy in the field, everyone will try to drag you down because it's so much easier to drag you down than to lift yourself up. It's always easier to drag the other person down than to lift oneself up, right? And a lot of the times they're also masking the fear of losing you. Because guess what? If you're learning and you're changing and you're growing, and then, like you, Camilla, said, sometimes you just end up like, growing apart. And that's a big fear of our loved ones. We'll be like, what if, one day they'll just fall out of love with me? What if one day I'll have nothing to talk to them? Because when you change and grow and you say you start to get empowered, you see that you're not a victim. We do create our lives. We have always a choice either to change the situation, change your perspective, change your thought about it, right? And when you step into that and other people don't believe in it, then there is that sort of, gap that happens, and then you find it harder to relate. So, because Camilla, you and I, we're all about like, tools and like, what can you do in this situation? So whenever I work with my clients, and I always help them to prepare the loved ones through the change that they're gonna, go through. So it's not only about you and your change, it's about the ones around you, because your climate is very important, whether you're gonna stick to your decision, right? So if you don't prepare them, it's going to be so much harder to have sustainable growth and change. And what I do is that what I offer them is that you do need to give them a lot of compassion. And there is one phrase that I advise them to use, which is, for me so far, has been like a fail proof. And I used it a lot in my life. That's why I offer it to my clients, which is, you can tell your loved ones that they don't need to fully get you and understand you and what you're going through in order to be able to support you. And I think
Absolutely
that's
true.
really powerful. Like you can
And that
just give them
goes
that
for
permission.
everything and everyone. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Totally. I love that. I love that. And also, and I've certainly done this in my life. Um, I talk about this a lot with Vilma, and I'm really not, I mean, I do notice that I personally might have, drifted a little bit away from some people, but I'm really not a fan of breaking friendships, for instance. And I'm, a lot of my friends, I've had them for so many years, and they're so important to me. So I think when you really own your change, be it your
Mm-hmm.
career change, or maybe you got out of a relationship against the advice of everyone and you getting into a new one, or maybe it's something completely different, it's some kind of change or transition. When you really, really own it and you transmit it to others, like that's that, that's what I'm doing now, that's who I am now, that's what I like now. um then and not wait for their approval, right? So you totally own it. You don't need the other ones to approve it, to approve of you, to approve of you, because you are so convinced that this is the right thing for you. And when you transmit that to others, the backlash will be minimized,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. So I
Yeah.
think, again, right, let's take responsibility. Let's say you are in the situation where you're going through a change like this, and you know that some people are unsupportive of you, or maybe talking bad about you behind your back or something like that. Then just ask yourself, are you fully owning what you're doing now? Are you fully owning your change? Or are you giving them, are you signaling to them that you're actually not quite sure about it anyways, or so? So
Yeah.
just reflect on that a little. How do you present yourself? And do you really, is it maybe an internal issue that you too have some doubts about it? Could that be it? Right? And then, let's think about that. Let's reflect on that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think that's definitely something that could help you, like when you're a bit further along the process, when you walk the journey of self-awareness and you understand and you own, like you said, that you are the one who's basically everything is just a reflection of you around you, right? So if something like that happens to you, you'll go inside and ask yourself, where is it that I still haven't owned a part of me that is resisting the change? But at the same time, I think you have to be vigilant, especially at the beginning. It's really hard because you're still new with this new identity, or whatever it is, and then you are feeling insecure whenever someone tells you something. You start doubting, like I remember myself when I started, when someone would question me, and I'm like, oh, should I question me? Like, can I do that? Am I allowed to follow my dreams? Like, hell yes. But when you start the journey is harder. And I feel like at the same time, we have to be careful that and remember that a lot of the times when we also get a sort of negative backlash, a lot of people are often just projecting their own limitations onto us. So if they,
Totally.
right? So if they have not allowed themselves to change, or they think their circumstances forbid them from change, they will not like seeing that in you.
Absolutely. And let's say you are someone who is, a client of yours, for instance, who has a corporate job and is, a good career possibly, but he's just not fulfilled, or she's not fulfilled.
Mhm.
And thinking about, throwing in the towel and doing something completely different. Um, I think in that stage, when you're still not sure
Mhm.
of it and you're like working on it, you don't need to tell everyone about that. I think sometimes like people are obsessed with checking in with everybody about what they're about to do. And then they get all those different opinions, and then they cannot decide for themselves because they've totally lost touch to what it is that they really want in their heart. So my advice would be, and I don't know if you would, if you would say that also in a coaching session with your clients, but my advice would be, until you're sure yes, do consult with some people, but some people where you really think that they'll understand and that they won't project their own fears. Like someone who's also in a corporate job and not happy, but doesn't have like what it takes, right, to say, I'm just going to do something different and I don't care about my status and my money. Well, maybe not talk about this with him because, or with her, because it's probably not the best advice that you'll get. The best advice is always the one where the person that advises you doesn't think about themselves, what they would do, what, how it will make them look, how, what this could trigger in them, but that just listens to you fully, gets what you're saying, even if they don't personally understand why you're doing this. It doesn't matter. Just listen to you, get what you're saying, and then trying to support you in your decision and in your life, nothing to do with them. Unfortunately, that is so, so rare to find, to
That's what
have.
I was thinking. I'd be like, can you please find me that person? Because I want to talk to that person.
Yeah. I mean, like as coaches, I think that's really the role that we take, because we
Yes.
have no personal interest. I mean, obviously we do have a personal interest in your well-being, but we have no personal interest in you doing this or that, because we're not your mother or your spouse or, someone that's directly affected by what you do.
Yeah.
So we really just want the best for you, whatever that is. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think we have to be very mindful in general. This is kind of like branching out to another topic, but just about advice. And that's what, we take really seriously in our line of work, which is, look, at the end of the day, you can only help the other arrive to their truth and authenticity like quicker, or support their journey to the authenticity, but you should not make or advise or make decisions for them. It's really, really bad. It's not, even if you're close to someone and you think you have a right to like help them out, be very, very mindful, because that could impact someone's life, like change the course of your life. One unsolicited and careful, like not careful advice, it can really, really, really mess someone's lives up, if they're still not feeling strong. And at the end of the day, we're all here to make mistakes. Even if you think you're helping someone, let them experience it, because what could look like you like a mistake may be a very necessary experience for their journey.
So true. So true. Definitely.
Yes.
So, so yeah, just to recap that last point, when you're still not 100% sure of the change that you're undergoing, in order to shield yourself from this worry, what will people think of me, only consult it with a few selected people who you think really have your best interest at heart. Right? So that is like maybe a piece of advice that you can take right now and implement in your life.
Yeah.
And another thing that I really that I always think about in any situation is basically the question that you're asking yourself, turning it around and asking it. Okay, so let me tell you to make this clear. So when you're asking, what will people think of me? Ask yourself, what am I thinking of others? If you feel they're not supportive of you, reflect, are you really supportive of them and their choices? Do you take honest interest in what it is they're doing, who it is they're dating, what they're studying or what they're working as, if that's the case. So check in with yourself, and then maybe it will just inspire you to become a better person. And guess what, whatever you put out, in some way it will come back, right? Maybe not by everyone, but definitely by a lot of people. And they will remember, you know what, when I was going through that difficult breakup, Vilma, she was just there for me. She didn't judge me, she just supported me. She didn't, she was just there for me. So now that, So Vilma is going, is leaving the corporate world and going into coaching. I'm going to do just the same for her. I might never do it myself, but I'm just going to do the same for her because she did that to me. So it's kind of a nice way to give and receive by always checking it with yourself if what is bothering you about others, whether you are maybe in some or another way doing it too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, always check in. Like, I feel like, whenever we do any podcast, we'll always go back to the same.
Yeah.
Like the same advice is checking in, taking responsibility for whatever is happening to you. The world is happening for you. It's not it's not against you. It's everything is for you. If you really take it and play with it, like you
Yeah.
can, there's so much you can create. Literally, Camilla and I, we speak almost every day, and there's every single day when we choose to step into that curiosity and be like, well, I wonder what that means. We discover and learn so much. Sometimes in the course of the day, I feel like, I lived a year when it comes to realizations and understanding and experiences because we are open. And that's what we'd like to suggest to you. Be open and be curious about yourself. Be curious when you feel like someone is giving you bad vibes. Step into curiosity and be like, well, I wonder why they're doing that. I wonder, is there something within me? Maybe they're unhappy with their life. Like, try not to judge them straight away. Try, like I said, offer them compassion. Maybe they're just afraid to lose you. Like, we don't have to respond in their passive aggressiveness in the same way. But at the same time, like Camilla said, at the beginning of your journey, imagine it's like this idea or this wish to change. Imagine it was like, a 3-year-old baby, a 5-year-old baby. You wouldn't go around like handing it to like random people who don't like you. You'd be very protective of that baby until it grows up, right? Until you're feeling like they can take care of themselves. At the beginning, you'll caress the baby and only show it to those who won't hurt it. So it's the same thing, with your team. Like, be protective. It's okay. It's okay. We give you permission.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So do you have any more, when I guess you must see that, daily when people are thinking about changing their careers, which are so closely tied to our identity. And, or can you maybe tell us what the most common problems or thoughts they're facing, most limiting thoughts they're having when it comes to that change?
Yeah, I think I can go really deep on this. I'm not sure how much people can relate, but at the end of the day, with almost every fear when we think that people will judge us, is our innermost need to be loved and to be accepted, and for us to be able to connect, love and connection. This just is such a core need for us that is basically, we have it since the minute we are born. So every time we're making a change, we become fearful that people will not love and accept us anymore. And that's the same as death. Like we gave that example before, when you go through a breakup, you don't eat, you don't want to socialize. It's like it's so bad because losing that connection is the worst thing that could happen to us, right? And I think it's all tied together. Sometimes people don't get it consciously, but this is how I perceive it. And that's why I say, look, first of all, sell yourself on the change. First, you have to be convinced that this is for you, this feels right. Do the work for you, and then help the others out, who are around you. Assure them that they're not going to lose you. Check in with yourself that you could still relate to them. Like, so that's sort of, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's essentially like, it's just the core.
Exactly. And that's so beautiful. And also, as a reminder for ourselves, if we're going through any kind of change and transition and struggling with the reactions of other people, reminding ourselves with a lot of self-compassion, like you mentioned, that I have a strong innate need, and it's totally normal. We all do, some more than others, but still we all do have that, to be loved and approved. And it's really, it sometimes as soon as we put a name to what it really is at the very core that we are worried about, it becomes easier to deal with. Don't you think? Like if you remind yourself, all I want is to be loved and accepted. And that's a beautiful thing, you know? So of course I want my best friend, my parents, my spouse, my whoever to support my decision.
Yes.
And at the same time, you know, when it comes to, again, checking in with yourself, taking full responsibility, also make an effort to love and accept others the way they are. Because really, when we do that, and when each of us is making that little effort to be a little more kind and compassionate and understanding with the other one, the world will just become a better place.
Yeah.
So it's win-win-win for everyone.
Yes.
Just the way it
Exactly.
is.
Exactly. You know what? Okay, two things. I completely agree with you. And also to add to that, which is an advice that I often give to people, and it's so simple, is that we should, when you are going and again, I'm talking about family, or those close to us who are not, who don't seem to be supportive. The number one solution is have, sit them down and have a very honest, vulnerable conversation with them.
Mm.
Just explain to them, like, look, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling. I might not have figured out what it is that I need to change. I might have, and I love you, and I just want your support. Just let them know what's happening. A lot of the times, the fear and passive aggression comes because they don't know. They have so much mind drama. They're guessing, like, is it this, is it that? But actually, we don't even think that sometimes that's all it takes, like an open, honest, sincere conversation. Like, look, I feel like a fucking mess. I don't know what's happening, but this is it. I'm just updating on the status, right?
Yeah.
And I really think that could help a lot. Like, we forget that it's actually a really powerful tool sometimes.
Yeah, vulnerability is a very powerful tool. Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I do feel lighter about this topic now, don't you?
Yeah, like, you guys, you just need to stick to your own lane, march to your own drum. Do you? People will
Yeah,
always talk. They will always talk, especially the ones, take it as the ones who talk the most usually are just like, avoiding to deal with their own issues, because when you're living your life, I don't have time to talk about other people. I just don't. Like, I am living life, I'm enjoying myself, and I'm
exactly.
doing me, right? So if
Yeah,
they're talking, there is already an indication that probably there's something that they're trying to procrastinate to deal with or try to distract
yeah.
themselves with.
And also remember that by doing you, by being so unapologetically you, you are giving others this great gift and space to be them, right?
Mhm.
You are creating this possibility for someone else to also say, you know what? I'm also coming out, or you know what? I'm also gonna throw in the towel on this job, or on this career.
Yeah.
So it is actually a beautiful thing. Sometimes it's scary, but it is really beautiful to go through change.
Hmm.
And once you've really owned it, it can inspire so much positive action and reaction in others as well. So really, sometimes, that this change that we're all so scared about is really the way to serve ourselves and others.
Hmm.
That is
Yes.
probably also a little reframe to just empower you to say, yes, I am going through with it. I don't have to, take a step back, put my dreams and my needs and my wishes on hold just because he's saying this and she's giving me that look and I'm actually not quite sure. It's okay. It's a process, but it's okay and it's necessary. And
Hmm.
growth is always the answer. It's always the answer. So if you think that you'll grow from the change that you're undergoing,
Hmm.
then by all means, yes, do it.
Hmm. Yes.
We're cheering for you.
We're cheering for you. And also, I was just thinking, just to wrap this up, is that Camilla and I, you guys, we love growth. Like, we live growth every single day. And I know that that might not be the case for some other people, right? Maybe your core need is not growth. So you will take it, these decisions, these life decisions, it will be like a longer process and it will not be as exciting for you. But just at the end of the day, the most important thing is just do you, be compassionate to yourself, to others, be open, be vulnerable. We need to like throw off all the masks. This is what I want. Like I said, I want a purpose revolution, I want a vulnerability revolution, and I want to drop this thing that like we live in a zero sum game society, and it has to be, if I win then you lose and you'll be unhappy. No, we always can find situations, in any situation you're in, you can always make it a win-win. You're going through change, maybe like Melissa, you'll inspire someone else to go, through change. Or even if it doesn't, you don't think that you inspired them, maybe you will plant a seed for the future in 20 years to be like, I did that because you showed me how to. Goosebumps.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. It sometimes it's just about planting a seed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like, just also to wrap this up, but you might not get a reaction or a favorable reaction from someone right now,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe you've just planted a seed, and in some time, whenever it's ready, it will come out.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, hopefully we gave you some inspiration about, about going through growth and transitions, and about worrying a little less about what others think of you, and a little more of what it is that's really good and meant for you.
Exactly. We hope, if you need someone to talk to, where to find us. We'll always support growth. Like, we love growth, we support growth. We want everyone to become better, to become more self-aware. And, people will always talk, and let them do their thing. Like, it's not your job to think about what other people think. Your job, I mean, dealing with our own thoughts is already a big effort.
No.
Right? Let alone think what other people think. So just bless them, offer them support, and continue on a journey. And we're here to cheer you, and drink champagne with you.
I don't mind. Bring it
Yeah.
on.
Okay, guys. So hope you enjoyed it. We'll
See you in 2 weeks.
in 2
We
weeks.
can't wait.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and do let us know how our tips are working out for you. You can find our websites below, and we'd love to virtually meet you there.